Guys, 40% of new skills are going to be automated within the next 5 years. But you don't just need to take my word for it. This study from the University of Queensland's Business School used a database of more than 3,000 occupations and almost 14,000 skills to analyze job trends in the wake of this entire AI revolution that we're living through right now. And the results are pretty staggering. You might think you understand or you know what's coming, but this study really shocked me in a lot of different ways. In today's video, we're just going to kind of walk through a few key points here. What are the most at-risk jobs? What are the most low-demand skills? What are the least at-risk jobs? And what are the most high-demand skills? And how can you actually adapt to what's happening? Because what's happening, in my opinion, is we're moving out of the era of careers. We're moving out of the era of jobs. We're moving into the era of skills. What are the problems that you can solve? What are the skills that you have that enable you to solve those problems? The old idea, and this is just the most insane idea that people are holding on to, that you're going to graduate from college, you're going to work in a career, you're going to buy a house, you're going to work in a career for 40 years, and then you're going to retire a millionaire. It's not the way the world works anymore. If you think that's the way the world works, feel free to put it in the comments. But A, that's not the way the world works now. And as AI and automations and robots become more ubiquitous in all the places that we live and work and eat, it's not going to work. So I think this is a really important topic. I'm excited to kind of go through the low demand skills and the high demand skills, because I think it's going to be really eye-opening. And if you're a guy that's just trying to make it, you want to be relevant, respected, and financially free during this insane transition into AI and robotics that's happening, you definitely want to hit subscribe. You definitely want to like this video so you can kind of keep up, because I'm bringing you a video every day of the week except on Sunday, because on Sundays we rest, boys. On Sundays we rest. So anyway, let's get into this video. First, we're going to talk about the most at-risk jobs according to this study from the University of Queensland. So it highlighted 10 specific jobs that are in very, very real danger of being gone. And I'm just going to go through these real quick, and then we're going to talk about the skills that are in low value and according to these jobs. So we have simple response call center roles. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but I will say the other day my wife had to call Yahoo because her email account of 26 years got blocked. She got locked out of it. This person, no offense, lady, you were terrible. She did not need to spend all that time calling you. All you were doing is reading off a call sheet. That's the type of job that is not going to be needed anymore. You do not need to call a call center and talk to someone who just reads off an FAQ sheet. That is a low demand skill, guys. 2, language translators. I mean, need I say more? Financial reporting functions like report writing, bookkeeping, those types of jobs. Cashiers and ticket clerks, data entry clerks, bank tellers and related clerks, postal service clerks, certain types of graphic designers, junior accountants, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll clerks, junior legal roles, legal clerks. You may have noticed I said the word clerks a lot of times because it's a lot of these entry-level positions, data entry type positions that are not going to be necessary. Now, you're going to need someone or something to make sure that the information that goes into the books is accurate. One of the biggest problems that organizations have that I'm working with, and that that lead to problems with AI, is bad data in. If you have bad first-party data, you're not going to be able to make good assumptions about the business. You're not going to be able to you're not going to be able to make good decisions. You're not going to be able to train AI in any sort of meaningful way. So making sure that the data that goes in is relevant and valid is important. And quite frankly, if you were in any of those positions I just mentioned, that's probably one of the ways I would transition. We're going to get more into transitioning and adapting here in a moment. But you just start to think about, hey, which part of my job could be automated? What is the simple stuff that I'm just pushing buttons to move things from A to B? Because A to B type information processing is a low skill. It's going to be it's a low skill job. It's in the demand for this is going to be substantially reduced. So I want to talk a moment about low demand skills. And by the way, if you really want to thrive in this environment, of course, I'm bringing you videos 6 days a week, sign up for my newsletter, guys. There's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stuff that is just hard to transmit via video. You sign up for a newsletter. It's totally free. That's aiupdate.ai. There's a link below, aiupdate.ai, totally free newsletter. Me and my team, we're putting a ton of effort into it. And I just think it's really valuable. There's already thousands of people there, thousands of men just like you that are already there. So go check it out. So let's talk about low demand skills here, okay? Repetitive and rules based. Again, I mentioned this to you. If A, then B. That type of, low judgment type of thing is so automatable. And one of the clients I'm working with right now, that's exactly what we're doing. Anybody that fills out a form in this way gets pushed into this pipeline. Anyone that fills it out this way gets pushed into this pipeline. People that are in this country get assigned to this speaker. People like a lot of the SDR work that historically was very important is very automatable just with the tools that are out there now, and it's only going to get better. Low demand skill, information processing. Again, data in, getting it in the books is just very automatable. The key, again, is making sure that data is accurate and it's good. Minimal human-to-human interaction. I think one of the biggest problems that people have now is a lot of people, like me too, are working remote. Human-to-human interaction is going to be really key. If you are not having an interaction with people on a regular basis, we're going to talk about high demand skills in a moment. Entry level skills like learning the business. I actually recorded a video about college graduates the other day. I feel so bad for college kids, man. You're coming out of college with $150,000 in debt, cannot be erased except by paying it. It is shocking. But anyway, the unemployment rates for college graduates, guys, is through the roof. Just this year, the college graduate unemployment rate has increased from 5.8% to 6.6%. That's just in the last 7 months, guys. So anyway, I have a whole video on that where I dive deep into that topic. I would encourage you to check it out because it is shocking. And why is that happening? Well, companies realize that, hey, if I can give AI to my middle management or upper management, I don't need a paralegal to read all these legal documents. ChatGPT can read an entire legal document, highlight the key points, and then my upper level staff can just go through and double check. I just think, the other day I was in a deposition, and I'm not going to go into all the details of the deposition, but one of the things that happened was there was a stenographer, and her responsibility was to type every word that was spoken. And what is that? What do we need that for? I use a program called Fathom that is insanely accurate, and it just goes through and turns all of my Zoom meetings into written word. It's unbelievable. What do we need stenographers for? That is, I don't know. I hope she's upskilling now because that's not a good skill to be in. Okay, so listen, we've talked about jobs that are on the chopping block according to the study. We've talked about the skills that are not going to be in high demand. Let's talk about the least at risk job roles that are going to be in high demand, and then we're going to talk about the skills that are associated with them. So least at risk would be management consultants. So as we go into, which is quite frankly what I'm doing, when you're moving into a world with automation and AI and new systems and new markets and new skills, what's going to happen inevitably is that companies are going to need people to help them implement them. So understanding the leaks and opportunities within an industry, focusing on it and doing consulting, they seem to think it's a good idea. I would tend to agree. I think it's going to be a high value skill. Engineers, doctors, high value skills. Why are these careers going to stay in high demand? Well, there's a few things. A, communication and collaboration, interpersonal interactions. You're working with people, you're showing empathy, you have a lot of care involved. If you get diagnosed with cancer, do you want a robot to walk in and say, you have cancer, here's the sheet of what to do, here's your prescription? No, you really want, that's a very emotional, extremely difficult time in someone's life, for them, for their family. There's lots of questions. That is something that really requires that human interaction. So again, anything that's leveraging empathy, human creativity, interpersonal connection, really important. Also, by the way, and I recorded a video on this, on how AI is changing healthcare, which I think is also fascinating. Doctors do have a bit of a dilemma now, and it's not that they're going to be fired or going to be laid off en masse. Doctors are still going to be important because of the reasons I mentioned. However, what is happening is that people are leveraging tools like ChatGPT to become super well informed, which I think is a good thing. Take control of your healthcare. Don't just trust one person's opinion. Not that you shouldn't trust your doctor. I think you should have a doctor that you trust, but I mean, to err is to human. But what's happening is people are leveraging ChatGPT just like a PhD in their pocket, and they're becoming super well informed about their health issues, and they're asking insanely difficult, complex questions to doctors, really kind of testing them. So anyway, it's really interesting what AI is doing in the medical field and how it's empowering people to be more well informed about their medical and health decisions. I'll just give you another quick example. Not to get too far off topic, I would encourage you to check out that video where I go more in depth. But I had an issue years ago. I had eczema, really bad, terrible, not fun. I'm very grateful today to be able to show my elbows without the eczema. In any event, I had this doctor, and she kept putting me on these different meds, this different medicine, just medicine up the wazoo, all these different meds. Nothing worked. And there was a point where I was like, well, could this have anything to do with my diet and what I'm eating? And she's like, no, it couldn't be that. Well, get this. At a certain point, I was fed up, and so I started eating very clean. I cut out all the fatty stuff. I stopped drinking alcohol, and it almost completely resolved itself. So the point I'm trying to make is you got a PhD in your pocket right now. So anyway, there's a little bit of an offshoot of the topic, but I think it's interesting. My wife doesn't really get off when I'm talking about this type of thing, but I just am so obsessive over how AI is impacting the world and all the cool things it's doing. So anyway, I'm honored to be here and to be able to share it with you and talk about it here and on the newsletter. So, okay, so we talked about communication, interpersonal, management, overseeing teams, strategic decision-making. Again, this really, I think at the end of the day, guys, what this comes down to is complex decision-making that can't just be like, if A, then B. And connecting with human beings, that is something that AI, I just don't see it happening. Of course, there are people that are falling in love with AI chatbots. I don't think that's healthy, but being able to connect with people on a human level is going to be a very valuable skill. I'm not going to go off tangent here, but with some of the teams that I'm leading and working on projects with, people are difficult. People are challenging. You know, if you're able to connect and get people to move and create a vision and create incentives, I see that being a very, very high demand, valuable skill. It's something I'm constantly working to up level. So, okay, let's kind of summarize and we can kind of wind this thing down. All right, boys. And by the way, if you haven't liked and subscribed, do it. Leave a comment below. If you have something interesting to input, write in the comments. If it's really good, I'll pin your comment because that's what we do here. We want to learn and grow. Well, we've talked about low demand. We've talked about high demand. Let's talk about what you can actually do to adapt and to upgrade. So, human skills, develop empathy, persuasion, negotiation, leadership. These are all things that should be implemented into your professional life. You need to be upskilling into digital, into AI. Every single day you should be asking, how can I use AI to make this better? Period. If you're not doing that, that is your mistake. You should consider that what you're doing within the next few years is going to be a hybrid role. It's going to be hybrid. It's going to be you combined with technology. It's not just going to be you doing the same thing that you've always done. That is the most dangerous place to be. Things are going to be done very differently in the future. How can you take on a hybrid role? If you're in a field that you think is very high at risk, that we've mentioned, start thinking about reskilling into an adjacent field. If you're a clerk or a bank teller, how can you get into financial advising or into compliance? I think, you know, again, one of the things with financial advising, people are going to be making a lot of decisions using data on their computer and using AI, but they're still going to want to talk to a human. They're still going to want to talk to a human to understand and connect with stuff that's going to be happening in the future. Creativity. If you're a graphic designer, think about how can you be a graphic storyteller, not just creating a graphic, but thinking about how does this push our initiative and our story forward. And you have to be on board with continuous learning. There's no time to stop. There's no time to let off the pedal. Continuous learning is very, very key and important. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Appreciate you. Let's stay relevant, respected, financially free. And if you like this video, you are definitely gonna like yesterday's video where we talk about the AI bubble and what's happening with the stock market. Just yesterday or 2 days ago at this point, there was $1 trillion in market cap that was wiped out. AI stocks took a huge tumble. But what caused this? What are the implications? What's happening? We talk about everything in yesterday's video, so go scope that out, and I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace.